recorded as well, all right? For those who, happen to miss this, there's still a chance for them to watch this again. All right. Oh, okay, all good. So let me share with you my slides today. Today is going to be a very short session because we have another training coming up. So today's session is just going to be half an hour, but trust me that this is going to be an important one because mental fitness is important, full stop. Right? I think in the last few years, there's more and more talks and more attention on mental fitness, which is really important. All right. So before we start, maybe I'll just like to tell you who we are in LiCo Wellness. We believe that wellness is the lifestyle. We founded this LLP some 10 years ago, and since then we have been pursuing the journey of helping people live better, healthier life through changes, through educations in terms of nutrition, in terms of fitness, to help to improve our health. And myself, my name is Jeannie, with a diploma in diet nutrition from UK ITech. I also have got certificate in nutrition and also dietary supplements from Republic Polytechnic in Singapore. Also, I'm also a personal trainer, certified personal trainer and yoga teacher. So with over 15 years of experience in this field, our team is really dedicated to work with individuals and with team who wants to improve their health, who wants to be better, who wants to get rid of some chronic disease, could be cholesterol, could be hypertension, it could be just obesity or excess body fats, right? All this can be addressed. So this is what we do. This is some of our clients. Our clients list is here. So we have been working with many different companies. Some of our long-term partners include Standard Chartered Bank, FitFamco. These are some of the companies who are our long-term clients. All right. And then from there, I'm going to touch on what we are sharing today. We only have 30 minutes, so it's actually very, very short. But before I start, I still want to ask you, what do what is your concept of brain fitness or mental fitness? Right? It's unlike physical fitness, whereby it's very clear, right? There are things that you can do for your body. You exercise, you rest, you eat well, all these are for your body, but for your brain, is it something different or not? Right? Is it something different or is it the same? Right? How do we treat our brain? This very interesting part of our body. Our brain, if you don't know, right, it only takes up about 2% of our body weight. Only 2% of our body weight is our brain, but it consumes 20% of calories, 20% of oxygen for our whole body, right? So it's so disproportionate. It's using 10 times more than, what other organs, other cells need. Why? Does it make it the most important organ? Because a lot of time when we talk about we talk about ourselves, we identify ourselves. It's not just with the physical body, right? We identify ourselves with our memory, with our experience, with our values, right? And with how we look at the world, with our view. And all this is here, isn't it? All this is in our brain, isn't it? Right? That's why sometimes when we talk to our clients, they believe that losing memory, losing their brain, or mental health is worse than losing their physical health. I'm not sure if you agree with that. Okay, let's think about this, right? We are who we are not just because of our physical, but because of our brain. Okay, so there are more and more neurological studies in Singapore, especially. It says that more than 1 in 4 Singaporeans will suffer from one kind of mental condition within their lifetime. 1 in 4 is not a good number. 1 in 4 is a big number, right? And brain disease can affect our personality and mood, can affect our speech and language, cognition, functions, memory, motor functions, etc., etc. There's so many things that's controlled by our brain, as we know, right? So, um, when we look at the Singapore Wellbeing Study for elderly in 2023, it says that up to for 60 and above, there's about 8.8% of population has dementia, right? Whereas for 85 years and above, the number is 48.6%. Again, not very good numbers, very high number. 48% is like 1 in 2, right? 1 in 2, so it's then me or you, right? And we know that in Singapore, the average age or life expectancy is also 85, is about 85 years old. So very good chance, especially the kids, those who are just born, the millennials, right? Those who are born after year 2000, they have very good chance of living up to over 90 or even 95 years old. So how do we take care of the brain so that something like this, dementia doesn't kick in, right? How do we protect our brain? So our brain has got this very interesting thing. It's called neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity means, last time when we watch cartoon or when we read comic, right? When there's an idea, what happened? When there's an idea, there's a light bulb will be lighted up, right? Ding, there's a light bulb lighted up, right? So seems that is true. That is neuroplasticity. That is what our brain is capable of doing, linking up and having a light bulb coming up. When we have a new idea, when we do something new, something different, learn something new, our brain actually learns and make new connection. This is something that we are capable of doing throughout our life. Our brain can still be developed throughout our life. Of course, many early childhood researchers actually say that, below 3 years old, below 4 years old, there's a good chance of having a lot of neuroplasticity intact so that the kids can learn a lot faster, put them in a very good position. But the fact is that even as we age, the brain can still work, can still connect by itself. So let's do this. I can't quite see you. If you can, on your video. If not, it's okay. But just listen to my instruction. Okay? Just listen to my instruction. You just have to do two things. Number one, use your right hand to tap your head. Number two, use your left hand to massage your stomach. Okay? Continue doing that. Okay, right hand on your tap your head and left hand to massage your stomach. And now switch. Okay. Right. Were you doing the same thing? What I'm saying is that, hey, how come suddenly you're massaging your head, right? So you pause a bit, right? Before you change, you like pause a bit, you're not sure what. So first of all, you're like this, right? Then after that, you're like, how? Yeah. So this is the moment when your brain build that new plasticity. This is the time that you learn new things, listen to new instruction. You might have done this before, new movement, right? And you start to learn new things. So this is how our brain is capable of doing. It's very, very powerful, right? Capable of learning and develop this way. Okay, so there's a lot of connections in our brain, especially the healthy brain looks like this. There's a lot of neurons linking up to each other, and this is the Alzheimer's brain. So we know that Alzheimer is the most common type of dementia, account for about half of the dementia cases, and it's because you can see the shrinkage in the brain, and there's a lot of cavity that's happening in the brain, and that less because of the plaques, because of the protein build up, for the plaque build up in the brain, right? The plasticity or the connectivity actually has got lesser and lesser. There's more and more holes, along the brain. And because of that, we start to lose things are so important to us, our memory, our identity, self-recognitions, how to, remembering our loved ones, where we live, our most precious memory, etc., etc. Okay, so if we are looking at 1 in 2 above 85, and if we still want to live to, that age, how do we prevent that? How do we take care of our mental fitness? That's an important thing. And last few years, we've been working with a dementia home as well at Tampines. We donated a few air filters to the dementia home. Also working with the staff to engage the patients with dementias on some cooking, bread making classes, etc. And from there, we talked to the persons in charge there, and we were told that the early onset, young onset of dementia, they call it YOD, young onset of dementia, cases has been going up on a year by year basis. Every year, there are a lot more new early dementia cases coming up. And early dementia, which means is below 65 years old, is considered early onset because dementia used to be an old age kind of disease, right? But below 65, early onset initially only have a few, and right now are already in the thousand in Singapore. You're looking at Singapore alone, right? And as early as 40 over years old, they started to see patients starting to develop dementia. And we all know that dementia, there is no cure. 100% confirmed as at now, there is no cure, right? So prevention is really what we want to do, right? And of course, if around you there are already people with dementia, the care is very, very important as well. But I think for us, we are really not in the medical field. We really want to focusing on how to prevent, right? How to take good care of our mental fitness, mental health to prevent this. So I was reading at this research paper by the Lancet team, the Lancet Commission. They come out with this paper to talk specifically about dementia prevention. So can dementia be prevented or not? According to this very renowned research paper, the answer is a very loud yes. And how much of the dementia can be prevented? Up to 50%. Okay, up to 50% can be prevented. So I think if we don't know this, we can still say that, well, bad luck, whatever. Yes, a stroke of luck might play a part, but I think by understanding this, at least we know, we have the knowledge, we know that there are things that is within our control, right? We can prevent some of these things. So what shall we do? So this is what we'll cover in the next 2 weeks. And today, this is just an overview. Not only the Lancet report name the 14 things that can be used to prevent dementia, they come out with a percentage as well. So the research actually look at the control and the dementia, people with dementia, and they test on all these different factors. And from there, they come out with the percentage. For example, hearing loss can account for 7% of dementia. Increase your risk of dementia if you have a untreated hearing loss, for example. So today we are going to cover a few of them and let's discuss together. Let's not make this a one-way communication if you can, since we have quite a cozy group. You can also put your comments in the chat so that we can also discuss a bit. I hope we have time for that. All right. So the first one is lesser education. Limited formal education can reduce the cognitive reserve. So what happened is that when we study, right, over the time we build a lot of connections in our brain, and that is like our brain bank. It's like a bank that we build the reserves. That means we light up a lot of lights. So if you have a lot of lights lighted up throughout the rest of the years as we grow older, some of the light bulb dim and then die off, right? We still have some, right? We still have some. It's still bright enough. We'll still be able to keep a lot of our cognition. But if the education is less, that means the person might not learn how to read, for example, cannot read and all that. It does affect because the cognitive reserve is low. But this is not the end of it. Even though someone didn't have, very high education, mental savings can be done anytime. It can be done now, here. All right. So higher education does help. Lifelong learning is more important because no matter how high you study, if you stop at 20 or 25 years old, you still have a good 40, 60 years to go. Probably not enough to last you so long. So lifelong learning, keep learning new things. You can learn a new language, you can learn a new sports, you can learn, some skills like cooking, baking, knitting. All these are good stuff that you can learn, something different, new instructions, new movements to stimulate the brain. Okay, mentally stimulation hobbies. So some say that, mahjong helps, right? Mahjong can work because you always have to outwit the other 3%, right? So that you don't lose too much money. So maybe that might work as well. Language is a very good one, right? So I see some of the friends learning using Duolingo. Duolingo is an app that is a step by step. You can spend 10 minutes learning a new language every day. Right? Don't have to do like hours and hours, but try. Even though you know certain language already, for example, Mandarin. So many friends told me that they returned their 华语 to their 老师 already, right? Return the Mandarin to the teacher already. But you can still go into, Duolingo to revise, do some exercise, to retrain our brain. And then the next thing is social engagement. That will help to build the mental reserve as well. Meaning, interact with people, not just watching the TV. One way doesn't work, but it has to be two-way. Social engagement, interaction, talk, discuss, debate, right? That will help to create more plasticity in our brain, right? Reduce the risk of dementia. So that's good for our mental fitness. All right. So if you just came in, today we're going to talk about a few factors that can defer or prevent dementia. Second is hearing loss. Untreated hearing loss can cause social isolation, can lead to social isolation, because if you can't hear well, less likely that you want to, go for social activities, meet up with people, talk to people, etc. If you don't wear hearing aids, right? And that social isolation increase dementia risk. I think we see many of these real life example during COVID time. Right, during COVID time, many elderly, because they are locked up at home, they don't interact with others, they actually develop some kind of deterioration in terms of mental health. So, regardless, if you are above 50 years old, 60 years old, if you suspect that your hearing is not so good, go and do a hearing test and wear a hearing aid. I think up till now, there's still a lot of people resisting hearing aid, which which is quite strange, because I know that many of us develop 老花, right? 老花, how to say 老花 in English? After 50 or 60 years old. And many of us are wearing a spectacle and we have no problem about it, right? Eyesight not good, wear spectacle. How come hearing not good, cannot wear a hearing aid leh? Right? So get it tested, and if really is affecting your daily life, you're not hearing clearly, just put a hearing aid. Right now it's actually pretty small already, and it's not so visible actually. Right? It's better off to wear it so that we still have our social engagement, activity, and keep our mental fitness. I think that is more important. If you're concerned about the cost, in Singapore, there are some agency, if you go to the AIC, right? There are some grants that you can apply, and it can cover up to 90% of the cost of the hearing aid. Okay, you cannot use your MediSave, but you can use some of the grants to cover if you meet the means test. Okay, so cost shouldn't be a reason. Get it treated if you need. Okay, hearing loss, 7% is a very high percentage. So do something about it. And of course, for kids, if you still have very good hearing, you can hear every word of mine very clearly. Protect your hearing ability carefully. If you go to very loud places, try to wear something, wear a ear muffs or something. Don't use, when you use your, AirPods or earpiece, don't on it too loud. Don't use it too loud, right? So protect our hearing. That's very important. And then traumatic brain injury. I think this is a no-brainer. If we hurt our brain, of course, it will hurt our memory. It increases the risk of brain damage and, cognitive issues as well. So if you need to ride a bike, make sure that we have helmet, protect ourselves. be careful when we do sports, right? I think today I just read a news whereby there was some fight, or not even fight, there was just someone, at a night at a pub or something. They went into some physical assault, and then this guy was just pushing the other guy down the steps, a few steps, and then the head hit on the ground, right? And then that fella just passed on, right? So brain is very important. Protect our brain. And 56% of traumatic brain injury is due to fall, right? It's due to fall. So be careful of that. Is to protect. Then excessive alcohol is another one, right? Heavy drinking, we know that it can shrink the brain volume, okay, and hurt our memory as well. So how much is too much? Zero is the best, okay? No alcohol is the best. If at most, right, 1 or 2 standard drink per week is about all it can tolerate, the body can tolerate. 1 to 2 drinks a week, not a day. Okay, so if you don't really drink, I think that's good. If you are already drinking, try to minimize it as much as you can. Because some clients tell me that they need to drink because of their work and all that. I think it's very old-fashioned. At this age, you still have to drink for work to entertain. It's a bit old-fashioned, so you might want to change that culture a bit, all right? And reduce drinking because it does affect our brain health. And smoking is another one. We know that smoking actually narrow our blood vessel. So blood vessel, you know that our brain need 20% of our blood supply of the oxygen. And smoking narrowing the blood vessel, that means that there will be limited nutrients and oxygen going to the heart, to the brain, right? So that definitely affect the brain function. And smoking increase the risk of heart disease, diabetes, and stroke, and also causing a lot of stress to the brain as well. So all this affects. So if you are smoking, try to cut down or try to stop smoking as much as possible. If you want to work on this, we have a set of protocols as well. Let me know. We can also work with you, to quit smoking as well. All right. So try not to use the smoke to actually poison the brain. All right. And depression is another one. So what the research is showing is that if this person has in early stage of their life, used to have any depressive episode, be it teenager or when younger, right? The onset of the Alzheimer, there's a higher risk of having Alzheimer disease when this person is older. Right. So if you look around, if you see that there are friends who sudden change in the personality, suddenly not interested in their favorite food, not interested in their favorite activity, just want to be quiet, stay at home, don't want to interact with people, try to, try to provide some care and concern whether there's any risk of depression or not. If there's risk of depression, it's better to treat it. Um, Not just for the quality of life now, but also to reduce the risk of dementia going forward. All right. I think all it takes for us is a little bit more care and concern to, to try to understand, to try to see, um, care for people around us. So depressions account for 3%, right? So if we can minimize, if we don't have that depressions, we reduce our risk of dementia already. We can keep our mental fitness. And next one is social isolation. This is the one. And social isolation means meaningful social contact. Meaningful doesn't mean that on Facebook I've got 2,000 friends. I've got social connection. It's not that. Meaningful connection means something that is more intimate, something that's more personal and in depth. We need to have friends. We are social creature. Human being is social creature. So when you think about your memory, your most precious memory, right now, if you take 1 minute to think about your most precious memory, is it just you alone creating that memory? Or is it the memory is someone important to you? Right? It could be your family, it could be your loved ones, your kids, So it's not just about us, right? It's a deep connection with someone. So for those who live alone, single marital status, having a small or weak support network, we might just want to reach out to others to proactively get some connection. If you have infrequent social interaction, relationship problems such as not close to your family members, or age-related physiological changes because you can't move, you can't go out a lot, or grief because losing of a spouse, a friend, or relative. Retirement could be one reason that cause social isolation as well. Suddenly you feel that you're so useless, not much use anymore, and even post-traumatic experiences, right? And causing social phobia. So all this can have an impact on our mental fitness. So again, look around. If you are in this position, come and join us. Okay. Here we learn every week. We meet each other to work out every week. We go out for walks. We have cooking class, etc. All this can help you to build meaningful social connections. All right. And visual impairment. If visual impairment is not treated, this is the new one that's identified by the Lancet Commission. I think visuals and hearing comes hand in hand. If you can't see properly, if our vision is like this because of cataract, it's less likely that you will go out. You will do, physical activity. You'll go for meet up with friends, social gatherings, etc. So again, get it treated. Of course, if cataract is very simple now, it's just a small operations, you can use MediSave as well. Okay, so get it treated so that it doesn't affect our day-to-day life. All right, so today I'm just covering 2, 4, 6, 7, or 8 items that can lead to dementia. Next week, we're covering the next half and we'll be talking about the solution as well. All right, meanwhile, prevention is better than cure. I hope that there are, 17 of us here. We can put in 1 or 2 change in our lifestyle, or if you know that about hearing, about visions and all that, let's go get it corrected. And next week when we come back, we can discuss more about this. We can learn how to address this modifiable risk to prevent or delay dementia. All right, so before I go into Q&A, let me share with you our weekly workout every Monday, Friday, and Saturday. So do join us online at Tampines or Choa Chu Kang. We are going to have our beauty class on the 2nd of November at Tampines. So can also join us on this physical meetup, okay? Social interaction, learn a new skill. And we're going to have our cooking class on the 6th of November. This is at my place, 164 Tampines. So do join us. I know Brenda has paid already, okay? So yeah, do come and join us and eat together. Next month, we are going to Chek Java, Pulau Ubin, for our LiCo fun walk. So, go and see the sun, have some friends. We can go out for a walk together. All right? So that is all that I have for you today. I'm sorry that we need to rush because of the next seminar that we are going to attend. All right. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, you can let me know, or let's meet up next week, same time at 8 o'clock to discuss more about mental fitness. Let's all have a think about our mental fitness. Make sure that we take good care of ourselves, our brain, our identity. All right. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Lai Fong. Thank you, Gladys. Thanks, Hui Ying.
Thank
Bye.
you.